Welcome back everybody to Daddy DL Gaming, and today we have a new character appearing in Duel Links. We have Syrus Truesdale. He's not an obtainable character. It's another one of these where you simply fight through the standard legendary duelists and the vagabond, and the more you duel, the more chance you have of him appearing. And then of course duel him to try and grab some of his event cards. Now although they're listed here, I'm going to go into Syrus himself to take a look through these. The duel rewards there. Most of these cards, in my opinion, are complete trash. I'm not keen on them at all. There's maybe one card that I like the look of. So let's take a look. One ultra rare, Express Roid. When this card is summoned, you can target 2 Roid monsters in your graveyard, except Express Roid, add them to your hand. All very well, but look at that attack and defense. It's not going to last particularly much. So if you put this down and normal summon it, and to pull your cards out, you're not going to get them. Or rather, you will get them, and this card is pretty much gone. Submarine Roid can attack your opponent directly, but when it does so using the effect, the battle damage inflicted to your opponent is the original attack. So obviously it will always be 800. At the end of the damage step, if this card attacked or was attacked, you can change it to defense position. I suppose that's not too bad with an 1800 defense. Even so, I'm not overly keen on that. That might be about the second card that I might be interested in. Inverse Universe. Switch the attack and defense of all face-up effect monsters on the field. So kind of shield and sword, and this is probably the only card that I really care about from this event. Situational may never get used, but that's the one that I'll be going for. Ambulance Rescue Roid. It needs a Rescue Roid and an Ambulance Roid. This monster can't be special summoned except by fusion. Once per turn, when a monster on your side of the field is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon that monster in defense position. Could be okay, but I still don't really like these Roids. Yeah, okay, it's 2,300 attack and 1,800 defense. But even then, you really need to build this around a Roid deck, and the Roids I'm just not keen on, as you might already be able to gather. Pair Psychroid. 2 machine type monsters with the same name. And this card can attack your opponent directly. Yeah, 1,600 attack, I suppose that's okay, but even so, I'm still not liking these Roids. The Rescue Roid, when a Roid monster you control is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can return that monster to its owner's hand. Could be alright. Supercharge, when your opponent declares an attack while the only monsters you control are machine Roids, you can draw 2 cards. Carrier Roid. When an opponent activates a card's effect that targets and destroys a spell or trap card you control, discard a card to negate its activation and destroy the card. Yeah, that could be okay as an effect, but when you look at the attack and defense, this card's not going to stick around on the table for particularly long. There's better ways of stopping your cards from being destroyed. Ambulance Roid. When a Roid monster is added from your graveyard to your hand, you can special summon that monster. Yeah, 300 attack, 1,200 defense, no. And Patroid. Once per turn during your main phase, you can look at 1 face down card your opponent controls and then return it to its original position. Again, low attack, defense, and that seems to be a standard for the bulk of the cards. Low attack, low defense. They're not going to stick around long enough to really pull off their effects. And I'm just not feeling them. I'm not going to call it a trash event, but it's pretty close if it isn't actually a trash event. So as I say, for me, Inverse Universe, that's the main one to go for. Maybe the Submarine Roid. It's okay, it's not great, but you never know. Situational, you might want to stick that into almost any deck. It doesn't have to be Roids, thankfully. So that's the event, that's what you can get. Let's take a look at the deck we're going to use to farm Syrus. Okay, so we're going to use Jaden for the reinforcement skill. Allows us, if we haven't already pulled him, to pull the Legendary Fisherman. And the simple objective for this deck is you get the Legendary Fisherman on the board, you get a Spirit Barrier on the board, and you get your Legendary Ocean on the board. And in doing that, the opponent can't attack your Legendary Fisherman and the opponent cannot attack you direct. So basically those three cards and you're golden. You can just sit there and wait it out until the end turn. We've got the usual cards, of course, for our last go with the Vassal, the Union Attacks, Secret Passage and Anti-Magic Arrows. In order to make sure we get the cards we want on the board, we've got 3 Spirit Barriers, 3 Legendary Oceans. The other cards we've got in there is a Crystal Seer, just for draw power. We've got the Thunder Dragons and a Polymerization. Again, draw power, but useful, of course, for our last turn, where we will summon the Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon as part of our attack power for the Vassal. And then we've got 2 Magical Mallets and we've got a Reload. And those are for if we get a duff draw and we want to shuffle some cards back into our hand so that we can pull out our Legendary Ocean and Spirit Barrier. I have seen people use other decks like the Buster Blader and the Dark Paladin, and the problem I found with those are that you need a lot of other support cards to counter his spells. He's got Polymerization and he's got a number of monsters that he can fusion summon, and if you want to try and counter the Poly and counter his other spells, you need a lot of different cards in your deck. This overall, you can just let Syrus play his game and do what he's going to do, and it doesn't matter. You can just let him play everything he wants to play, sit back, and just wait till your last turn. Of course, this assumes that you can get the 3 cards on the board quickly enough. Same with every farm deck, though. You can get a brick. But let me show you now how we will play. Okay, so Syrus, level 40. Now, as I say, we're looking for these 3 cards first and foremost, and then it doesn't matter what we do after that. Of course, reinforcement skill allows us to at least pull the Fisherman should we need to. That's a shame. I'd rather go second with this deck, but hey. Wow, okay, so we've pulled all 3 of the cards that we need, which is pretty good. So Legendary Ocean, set the Spirit Barrier, and obviously with the Legendary Ocean out we can summon our Fisherman. And that should be the game. All we have to do is activate our trap. There we go. And that's it. You'll see now that Syrus just cannot do a thing. Okay, of course we'll strum our deck down and pull the other 2 copies. No real need to attack into him, of course. We can just let him summon whatever he wants to summon and not care. And at this point, there's of course plenty of cards we can discard. We don't care now about reload. We don't care about our magical mallets, the crystal seer. So plenty of cards we can get rid of. And let's show you the animation while it's here. There we go, the jumbo drill. Doesn't bother us, of course. He can't do anything. Can't attack us. Can't attack the fisherman. And so we'll just keep drawing. Of course, we've got another 2 copies of both the barrier and the legendary ocean. So we can discard those as well. I will just change him back to attack position. I do prefer that. Now, that's where I've seen other decks fall down. Let me just discard this and I'll carry on. Because you can tilt your cards, you would need other cards in your deck to counter that if you weren't playing this variation. And I find that just got a little bit unwieldy. Having so many cards to counter all the things that he can do, you are never guaranteed to pull what you needed to pull on time. And therefore, this makes life a lot simpler and a lot easier. Okay, now we want all of these cards for our last turn. So I am going to set the polymerization. He doesn't have anything to blow up your back row, so you're safe setting cards where you need to. Of course, if you're going to set them, always set the ones that you're going to use first. So typically polymerization and secret passage. There we go. So again, we need all of these. So we will set passage. And honestly, it doesn't matter whether you use union attack or passage first anyway. But I suppose as a standard, I typically play passage first. And you see, he can't do a thing. He's just locked down his whole board. Can't attack into us. Get rid of the mallet. Okay, on to the end game. So let's summon our vassal. We'll summon our twin-headed dragon. Secret passage. You know the drill by now with this. 2 union attacks. And time to go in for the kill. Obviously anti-magic arrows. And there you have it, a really, really simple farm deck for Syrus. Let's see if we get anything decent. Not on that run. Nope, complete garbage. Now you can see, of course, campaign score gives you an extra 1,000, so that was a clear 8,000 points without the bonus. So quite a good deck, gives you the perfect score you need for all 8 rewards. And that's it. It's as simple as that. So with that, I will leave you all to farm Syrus should you want any of his cards. As always, good luck. Thank you for watching Daddy DL Gaming. You can follow, like, share, tweet, and if you're feeling generous, you can donate on Patreon because Daddy always needs a new pair of shoes.